Yes, and the movie shows it. There's a big handprint. I was really shocked. However, it made me feel good about him. It was 1979 when Meryl Streep first showed up on a movie set. She was so upset that she would never talk to her co-star again after she left. Something happened on set that she didn't tell anyone for 40 years. That wasn't the only thing that went wrong. It was something very bad. In 2018, she finally told everyone what Dustin Hoffman did to her. Hollywood was shocked by the truth. It had to do with the name of her dead boyfriend, Flying Glass, and a hit that changed everything. Because of what happened on that set, she will never work with him again. She was born in Summit, New Jersey, on June 22, 1949, as Mary Louise Streep. Mary Wilkinson Streep, her mother, was a commercial artist who worked for a local paper. She was always drawing and brought her artistic spirit into the family home. Stan William Streep Jr., her father, worked in pharmaceuticals. It was a safe middle-class job in the business world that didn't leave much room for big dreams. He made up the name Meryl on his own. Just something fun, like a mix of her names. She was named for her mother, grandmother, and a family friend named Louise Buckman. Their house in Basking Ridge was a calm mix of custom and imagination. Meryl grew up there with two younger brothers and a lot of room to think. Harry William Streep III and Dana David Streep, her younger brothers, were both born in 1953 and would also become actors. Beth Simon, Dana's wife, was Treasury Secretary William Simon, and the couple got married in 1977. Beth's father was a part of U.S. government history through her family. Their home was full of art and strange turns. Their mother praised anything creative, and their father quietly backed them up no matter what they did. There wasn't a lot of noise. People just assumed that if you were good at something, you did it. Meryl began taking opera lessons with Estelle Liebling, one of the best voice teachers of the 20th century, from her home in New Jersey when she was 12 years old. In the early 1900s, Liebling went on tour with John Philip Sousa and taught 78 Met Opera stars. It took Meryl a long time to learn how to breathe from her back and open her chest in 3 dimensions. She didn't love opera, though. Girls and cheerleading were her things. And how active school felt. She felt empty when she sang in languages she didn't understand. She stopped taking lessons after 4 years. She said she learned something important from that. Don't act like you feel something. Do only what you can feel. She was quiet, almost shy, and said that her mother, Dame Judi Dench, could light up a room like her. She could still turn it on if she had to. In an instant, she could go from being quiet to magnetic. She tried acting at Cedar Hill Elementary and Oak Street School. She played Louise Heller in The Family Upstairs in a school play. Even though she was raised Presbyterian, she went to Mass with her Catholic friends. She learned early on how to fit in with different groups. She was told she could do anything by her mom. She could do it if she tried. She wouldn't do it if she was lazy. She could never get that voice out of her head. In home movies, she was already getting better. She beat out all the other kids in a costume contest at Camp Olcott when she was 8 years old and dressed as a little old lady. In her spare time, she impersonated people and made up silly voices and accents to make her boys laugh. They didn't know that this was a practice run for the rest of their lives. She didn't know who she was, had frizzy hair, glasses, and was too tall. It didn't matter, though. She knew how to disappear into someone else already. She had changed by 1966, her last year at Bernard's High School. In 1963, she and her family moved to Bernardsville. By the time she was 17, she was a college dancer. And was the homecoming queen just now. The local paper said she was a pretty blonde girl with blue eyes who got good grades. She also played parts in plays. In The Music Man, Marion is the librarian, and in Lil Abner, she is Daisy May. She was still living 2 lives, though. Part of her liked being the center of attention. Behind the school, the other one smoked and tried to fit in with her friends. During those years, she heard her singing voice. It didn't bother her. There was no opera. There was going to be something better. In 1967, she went to Vassar College. She first planned to become a lawyer, but one teacher told her she was too pretty to be taken seriously in theater. She dug in after that strange attack. She changed her major and hasn't looked back since. She was in 40 plays in 4 years. She learned how to change the tone of her voice into 27 different ones for one part. She would record talks in diners and then imitate the voices in her dorm room until she was perfect at them. By 1971, she could say the same thing in 6 different regional accents, one after the other. Her teachers thought she might be the best actor of her time. People didn't believe them at first, but they were right. She got into Yale Drama School that same year. There were only 16 spots available. During her 2 years there, she was in 40 plays, got by on 4 hours of sleep a night, smoked Marlboros backstage, and lost 15 pounds because of the stress. In Henry V in 1973, she played a male soldier so well that no one knew she was a woman until the very end. A friend from school, Sigourney Weaver, told her that Meryl scared her. She never did something wrong. She was in 3 plays at once during finals and changed costumes in bathroom stalls between places. More than 10,000 lines of classical writing were stuck in her mind by the time she finished. In 1975, she finally took the stage on Broadway. She barely had enough money from her $150 a week first job to pay for her $200 a month flat in Hell's Kitchen. While reviewers said she was beautiful, it was her next performance that really took the breath away. In 1976, she played a Southern woman who had been sexually abused in 27 wagons full of cotton. Williams came 3 times to see it and told her she knew more about the South than any Yankee had ever done. For the part, she put on 20 pounds and nailed a thick Mississippi accent by talking to truckers in Alabama for 2 weeks. Even at parties, she never changed into a different person during the 8 weeks of the show. She also did work off-Broadway in shows like The Cherry Orchard and Measure for Measure in Central Park from 1974 to 1976. She worked for $200 a week and did her job in the rain, plains, and heat. On a rainy night in 1975, she was in the middle of a scene and kept going. Someone wrote that it was the most exciting moment of the decade. She worked as a waitress at O'Neill's until 2 a.m. and got there at 9 a.m. as a practice. She fell asleep while fitting for an outfit one time, but she never gave up. Everything changed for her in 1977. Her first movie role was in Julia, which had only 2 minutes and 48 seconds of screen time. She made $2,500. She was so scared that she threw up twice before the shoot. Her scene was almost cut by the director, but someone saw her, and things changed. In the same year, her partner, the great actor John Cazale from The Godfather, was told he had lung cancer that would kill him. Since 1976, they had been together. She played the deer hunter just to be close to him. He was going to be fired when the studio found out he was dying, so she threatened to walk. About $40,000 of her own money went to pay for his insurance on set. She came up with all of Linda's lines herself. During the 6-month shoot, she stayed with him. He died on March 12, 1978, at the weight of only 98 pounds. At his funeral, she read a poem and then didn't say anything for 3 days. She later said that pain taught her more about acting than anyone else. After only 6 months, she met artist Don Gummer, who helped her move out of John's flat. That same year, they got married and went on to have 4 children. She was very important in Holocaust because she helped pay for John's hospital bills. The TV show aired in April 1978. 109 million people in the US watched. 20 million people watched it in West Germany in 1979. Because of how strong the response was, the country threw out the statute of limitations on Nazi war crimes. Streep got an award. Her sadness had grown into something much bigger than herself. After that came Manhattan. Then Joe Tynan lured her in. After that, Kramer vs. Kramer. 1979 was the year. That's right, 3 films, 3 people, and 3 very different voices. She played a bisexual ex-wife, a strict labor lawyer, and a mother who lost her child in a custody fight. The award was her first. Someone said she was like a chameleon. That year, she did something that no one else had ever done. She didn't just act, she was gone. No matter what, she showed what acting could really be like. But becoming. The girl with glasses, frizzy hair, and a shaky singing voice had quietly become the best actor of her time. He was born in Los Angeles on August 8, 1937. But the past had already left its mark on him before he even opened his eyes. It took Dustin Lee Hoffman's family a long time to get back together after running away from something too bad to say. When his grandparents came to Ellis Island, they were more traumatized than their belongings because they had just escaped pogroms in Romania and Ukraine. He gave up her dream of becoming a jazz piano player. At Columbia Pictures, his dad, Harlan, sold furniture and made $45 a week. Before Dustin turned 12, they moved 7 times. The belt got tighter with each move. There wasn't enough food. There was a lot of shame. Dustin stole bread and put it in his coat when he was 14 because no one else was going to. He didn't belong there. In the 1940s, Pasadena didn't have room for kids with Jewish last names and big faces. Some people in his class made fun of the way he looked by calling him Dusty. He was 5 feet 6 inches and hunched over because he was different. But the pain got worse and worse until it became a tool he used in every part he ever played. 19 years old. He dropped out of Santa Monica City College after trying to study music for 2 years. Even though it seemed risky, staying stuck scared him more than anything else. He or she had barely enough money to pay $600 for fees. To repay them, he pumped petrol for $1.25 an hour and watched over people in a mental hospital for $48 a week. He got $300 back. That was all he had. He took a Greyhound to New York in 1958. No place and no plan. He only had a bag and a broken thought that he might be able to do something. A tube stop bench was his bed, and it cost 50 cents to shower at the YMCA. He worked as a waiter at Howard Johnson's in Times Square and made $42 a week plus tips. Every month, he gave $15 of that to Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio. Strasberg wanted blood from the heart. Hoffman started to cry in class one day because his grandmother had died. He cried for 45 minutes. Something new began when it was over. He was no longer just acting. He was going into the wound. His first part off-Broadway paid $35 a week and ended after 23 nights. One reviewer said he looked terribly like a beginner. It paid $50 a week for the second show. It was 1965, and he shared a $75 rent flat with Gene Hackman and Robert Duvall. 3 people and a hot plate. That year, they went to 200 tryouts and 8 canned beans. People told Hoffman over and over that he was too short, weird, and black. At Macy's in December, he showed kids wind-up monkeys and got paid $5 a day. He did the maths and found that 860 toolers were hired that year. After that, something changed. He got a part on Broadway in Journey of the Fifth Horse in 1966. It gave him great reviews and paid $175 a week. But he freaked out when the show ended after only 95 shows. If you couldn't buy nappies, the prizes didn't mean anything. He even put in for a job that would pay $9,500 a year to sell insurance. In the same year, he was cast in a single Starwag TV show. It paid $1,200, which is more than 6 months of work. He felt seen for the first time. He married in Bern in May 1967. Karana, their daughter, was born in March 1966. It costs $12 a week just to buy nappies. He missed her first birthday because he slept in Central Park to get ready for a part. For another part, he wouldn't talk to and for 11 days. Hackman later said that Hoffman would talk to himself in character for 8 to 10 hours a day, barely eating, and filing for divorce twice before they finally got a divorce in 1980. There was a time in the autumn of 1966 when Mike Nichols was looking for an unknown person to play Benjamin Braddock in The Graduate. There was too much clean in Robert Redford. Too much was what Warren Beatty wanted. Hoffman was on stage when producer Lawrence Terman saw him and brought him in. He tried out to play 21 when he was 29. He arrived 20 minutes late and sweaty. He dropped a water glass and tripped through the lines. It did work, though. Benjamin made him feel like. Nichols also saw it. They offered him $17,000 2 months later, after 3 calls and 5 different screen tests. He made more of it than anything else he had ever made. The movie was shot in June 1967. The Graduate went off like a bomb when it hit theaters. It was the most successful movie of the year, making $104.4 million at the box office. After taxes, Hoffman only got $4,000. A lot of people across the country saw his name on billboards while he was out of work. He was so scared while they were shooting that he didn't get much sleep. He kept telling himself that he didn't fit. The fact that Gene Hackman was fired from the movie after only 3 weeks made Hoffman think that he would be next. It did work, though. Everything worked. Hoffman went up for his first Oscar and became the face of a group that didn't trust people over 30 by accident. After that came Midnight Cowboy. Hoffman played Ratso Rizzo, a con artist who was dying and missing a leg. The well-known line "I'm walking here" wasn't in the script. It took place because a real taxi almost hit them. Being true to the part, Hoffman slapped the hood and screamed. It was hidden in a car by director John Schlesinger, who had no idea what had just happened. 2 more shots were fired just to keep the chaos going. Hoffman faked a limp by putting rocks in his shoe every day. He changed from 17 to 121 years old in Little Big Man. Making up took 5 hours every day. Dick Smith looked over pictures to find every wrinkle. Hoffman hurt his voice by trying to sound old while sitting in cars for hours on end. During one speech about Custer, Hoffman's body almost gave out as the camera rolled take after take. He played an old man who was falling apart when he was 33 years old. After that came Straw Dogs. Hoffman played a shy scientist who was pushed too far. He was hurt by the harsh scenes in the movie. Hoffman gave the director Sam Peckinpah raw feeling, but it cost him what it was worth. He fought hard to change the lead actress because he thought the story was becoming too exploitative. At the end of the day, he had to play a man who was losing his temper. Everything about it felt too real, but it stuck. The home attack and rape scenes were so real. The movie made people angry and won awards. He changed again by 1974, this time becoming Lenny Bruce. He lost 15 pounds and seemed to disappear. In a 10-minute scene, he only sports a raincoat and 1 sock and is drunk and wild. The scene is shot in 1 take. Some reviewers said it was one of the best shots ever shot. It was impossible to avoid the lines that talked about death and censorship. Hoffman was nominated for his 3rd Oscar. All of it was shot in black and white by director Bob Fosse. It looked like death. Then all of the president's men showed up. Redford and Hoffman are looking into Watergate. There were ugly neon lights around him and he smoked a lot during scenes to fit the mood of being paranoid and tired. The typewriters made noise. Extras talked in the background all the time. The way Redford and Hoffman sat with their backs to each other was meant to show how much they didn't get along before they learned to work together. The movie got praise. It was saved because it was important to culture and history. Hahn didn't care about labels, though. He was after something more important. He dropped 15 more pounds for Marathon Man. Before each take, they ran a half-mile and looked out of breath. During scenes of torture, they should hold him underwater until he gasped for air. He shook his head and told Hoffman, "Try acting, dear boy," when he found out that Hoffman had stayed awake for 72 hours just to look tired. It is a lot easier. In Straight Time, he was so good at playing a former prisoner that it scared his own actors. Sources came from a real person who used to be in prison and went to San Quentin named Edward Bunker. They did a lot of work together. He lived like he was out on parole for 6 months and watched how these guys moved, talked, and flinched. He even helped direct some parts of the movie, which was against the director's orders. Co-star Harry Dean Stanton said that an imagined robbery scene scared him. Then there was Agatha, the movie about Agatha Christie's lost days. He turned the set upside down and played a reporter. He kept asking for changes, which put off the shoot for weeks. Vanessa Redgrave got angry. Things changed. The characters shrunk. Kathleen Keenan, the original writer, was very sad. After more than a year of chaos, the movie came out in 1979. In terms of costumes, it only got one Oscar nod. He got married again that same year. Lisa Gottsagen. They had 4 kids. He was born in March 1981, but almost didn't make it. His lungs were not fully formed. Hoffman was so scared that he couldn't think straight. They stayed together the whole time. Lisa made things better. They kept shaking their feet because of the way Hoffman played his parts. Film director Sidney Pollack said on the set of Tootsie that he would give up his Oscar to get back the 9 months of pain Hoffman caused him. Terry Garr said he was bossy. It wouldn't turn off for him. He lived every part. He was 42 years old in 1979 and had made $50 million at the box office over the previous 10 years. He started from scratch and built a mountain. People said behind every hit that he was hard to work with because he would push for extras, breaks, and the perfect tape no matter what it cost. Kramer vs. Kramer began filming in New York City in 1978. The movie had a $8 million budget and was based on a book by Avery Corman that came out in 1977. Dustin Hoffman didn't want anything to do with it at first. While going through a painful breakup, he almost gave up on films and thought about going back to the stage. It was turned down by James Caan, Al Pacino, and Jon Voight as well. The director, Robert Benton, and Hoffman finally agreed to play the part while they were shooting Agatha in London. They met in a hotel room. He put everything he had into it once he was in. Hoffman turned down Benton's offer to co-write the book because he wanted to use real New York homes instead of movie sets and added so many rewrites and personal scenes from his own life. There was no script for his scenes with the boy, Justin Henry. The kid was only 7 years old and had never been in a play before. A neighbor who was also a casting director saw him and put him in the show. Hoffman taught him himself. The well-known scene where little Billy won't eat his ice cream? Made up on the spot. It wasn't even planned for Meryl Streep to play Joanne. It seemed to be Kate Jackson from Charlie's Angels at first. But her TV filming plans didn't work out, so she had to drop out. At first, Streep was only cast for 2 short parts as a one-night stand. After that, everything changed. She was 29 years old. Not well known in movies. There were no copies of The Deer Hunter or The Seduction of Joe Tynan yet. She went to a hotel in New York to try out for the major role by reading Joanna's goodbye monologue. He and Benton looked at each other and said she was in as soon as she left the room. She didn't want to play a bad girl, though. She fought hard for Joanna's emotional depth, saying that the character wasn't just a mom who gave up her kid. She pushed to make her a person. The show had a lot of tension. Hoffman's need to be perfect blew through the budget. He got into a fight with Gail Strickland, who was originally cast as Margaret. He teased her so much during rehearsals, often making fun of her delivery or giving her lines that weren't in the book, that Jane Alexander had to take her place. It made Strickland feel shaky. At about the same time, Streep was going through a terrible loss. John Cazale, her partner, died of lung cancer in March 1978, just a few months before the movie was shot. She had been with him until the end. She came to the set broken and empty from loss. Hoffman did not hide anything. He hit her in the face on the second day of shooting, which was her first big scene. There she is leaving in the hallway scene. There was not a hint. The mark on her face from his hand turned red. It was caught on film and made it into the final cut. Hoffman said he wanted things to be real. Benton was shocked, but he didn't yell cut. Streep was very angry. There was another time when Hoffman threw a real wine glass against the wall during the diner scene. He didn't tell anyone, not even Streep or the director. It broke very badly. And pieces hit Meryl Streep in the hair. She didn't stop until the scene was over. After that, she told him, "Please let me know the next time you do that." But the cruelest part was when they were in court. Hoffman leaned behind her chair and whispered one word into her ear, "Cazale," right before the picture was taken. He was doing something very smart. He wished she would cry. And he got it by making her sad. After the fact, Streep said she felt abused. None of it was her choice. Even the speech that was changed for court turned into a fight. Streep changed it so that Joanna would be more honest and have more power. Hoffman turned down parts of it and said she didn't get the movie. He told her she was too moody. It was impossible to miss the irony. He hit her. Broke glass near her eyes, talked about her dead fiancé, and still told her she was too much. Even though Benton tried to keep the peace, the damage was already done. Still, the movie was good. It was a big deal when it opened in December 1979. The story touched a lot of people. It was the most successful movie of the year, making over $106 million in ticket sales in the US. Along with Alien, Rocky II, and Star Trek, the movie, it won. At the 52nd Academy Awards, which were held on April 14, 1980, and were hosted by Johnny Carson, it won 5 of the 9 awards it was nominated for. Hoffman was named Best Actor. Best Supporting Actress went to Meryl Streep. In her speech, she thanks Benton but never talked about Hoffman. Hoffman held the figure up on stage and said, "He doesn't have any genitalia." He then gave an emotional speech about acting and respect. He was holding a sword. It was one of the stranger parts of the night. It cost more to be behind the camera. Streep had been groped, hit, insulted, and had her feelings used against her. She didn't say anything. She didn't talk about what happened on that set in public for decades. She kept things businesslike. She moved forward. She got up faster than anyone thought. Sophie's Choice, which came out in 1983, won her second Oscar. Her career took off. Over the years, she was nominated for 21 Academy Awards, which is more than any other star in history. In 2011, she won again for The Iron Lady in flicks like August, The Devil Wears Prada, and Doubt. Osage County kept giving her nods. She never failed. Never went away. She chose parts that were hard and complicated and made them her own. She showed that she didn't need male approval or method violence to be brilliant. Then 2017 came along. There was some breaking of the quiet. In November, a woman named Anna Graham Hunter wrote that Hoffman had touched and harassed her while she was an intern on the 1985 TV movie Death of a Salesman. She was only 17. Stupid questions and mean sex jokes were told to her, and she was made fun of in front of the team. He told her once, "I'll have a hard-boiled egg and a soft-boiled clitoris." There were more women who came forward. 7 charges had been made against him by December. These included claims that he exposed himself and sexually assaulted a woman during Ishtar in 1987. His defenders said that everything was false and hurtful to him. In an interview with the New York Times in 2018, Streep finally spoke out. A soft voice said, "It was my first movie, almost 40 years after the slap. It was my first tape. He hit me with a hand. It was going too far. It wasn't just a slap that happened. It was about a time when women were expected to keep quiet and do their jobs no matter what." Meryl Streep didn't just make it through Kramer vs. Kramer, though. It became a launchpad for her. She left a memory in her own way. That couldn't be taken away by a slap, a wineglass, or a whispered name. Oh no!